Funny. Who's off?
Can I ask, what do you think of your story arc as Deathstroke in the Arrow from beginning to recent events?
Oh, it's interesting, because I mean, sometimes as an actor, you have to be thick-skinned and realize that there's a whole bunch of things that are going on that may or may not enable your producers to do certain things. Sometimes they're concentrating on other characters, and sometimes they're just not allowed to involve your character, which I found out from Mark Guggenheim, that basically they had to hold off on Deathstroke because of the potential of it being used in the movie world. It was going to be on the Batman movie and whatnot. But since there's been an issue with that production, then they got the opportunity to bring Deathstroke back. So, it's a very popular character. The fans are out there who've wanted this return for a long time. I've had really great discussions with Mark Guggenheim about the type of relationship that is going to emerge now. Now that Slade has supposedly evolved. Oh, well, here you go, mate. I'm going to spoil your week. Yeah. I mean, basically, Slade is straight-faced in saying that the Mirakuru is worn off. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see now that Oliver's looking at the Slade that he knew in season 1 of Arrow, pre the Mirakuru, so there's kind of like this, can you forgive, as Slade will say, in the upcoming episode, God, why does England have to be a week behind
I know,
America?
It's annoying.
Tell me about it. I've
That
already
with
seen
your
it.
piracy,
I've
you don't
already
want the
seen
piracy, so it's like...
I know. It's crazy, but I mean, simply, it's just a scenario of Slade is back as Slade, not as Deathstroke. So, how can Oliver reconcile a relationship with somebody and they've been through so much? Yeah. But like it's as though you've got to the end of Othello or a great Shakespearean tragedy, and instead of everyone suddenly dying, it's like, oh wait up, the truth is. And everyone's going like, oh, what? Hey, okay, where to now, And so, it's just interesting because, Slade is back as Slade, not Deathstroke. But, is he?
We'll find out in season 6.
There's a lot of new characters come onto Arrow as well. How are you dealing with the rest of the new cast?
I didn't even realise until I went there to shoot this episode that I've just been in. And I was like, who are these guys? And I just did a stage. I just did a panel. And he's going, oh, I played Mr. Incredible. And I'm like, what? What's happened on this show? There's a few more cast members. Yeah, I mean, as far as Slade's concerned, and as far as, the character side of things are concerned, he doesn't even know,
Right,
I mean, he's been on Leanne Yu, so whoever's popped up has popped up in his absence. And so, when I do get back onto the scripts, or we'll see what happens with Arrow. I mean, there's been no agreements yet, or any sort of sign off on me returning to the show yet for season 6. But I know their intentions to flesh out more of a storyline with Deathstroke, and the fans obviously want it as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting, the discussions we'll have in coming weeks to sort of see what the potential is.
Do you read any of the comics? Do you actually read any of the Deathstroke comics? Or?
I bought every single one of them. Yeah, I went to one of these Comic Cons, and there was a guy who had one of those guys with the massive comic book collections, and I said, can you help me with the Deathstroke comics? And he said, I can get every single one. So I've got them all. Yeah, I've got them all. I mean, I've read a lot of them. Flicked through some, looked at pictures, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, you can never anchor yourself too much in the original material when you're working on a television show that's taking its own artistic license to create. Otherwise you're going to get hunkered down with your ideas of. I mean, I've got a solid idea of Slade Wilson, in my own interpretation, that I've applied to the character in my own performance, But I've met with Marv Wolfman, and he gave me great, compliments in regard to presenting a character that he thought when he originally wrote it, that I'm playing the right emotional beats, the right kind of tone to the character. But in contrast to that, the comic book artist who drew the first Deathstroke, what's his name? Anybody help? I'm drowning.
No.
George Perez. Okay.
Oh.
George Perez. I met George Perez at a convention, and he went, "You're playing Deathstroke? You don't look anything like him." Which was funny, Which was funny because I actually haven't seen George since he made that comment. And but everyone's got their own, feelings and opinions, and until you actually, as an actor, until you actually get into the skin of a character and sort of start to make it your own, I'm playing Allanon in Shannara, and in the books he was like, 7 foot tall, and I'm not, and people made comments about that prior to us filming, and then, since then I've had people just come up and say, look, that was my favourite book series when I was young, and you play Allanon just the way that I read him on the page. So finding a character's, most importantly is finding, the sense of the character, and then creating what is, your interpretation of it, but with Slade in season 6, even though I don't know what the current status of where they're going to take the character is, there's incredible potential to really, put the audience in the hot seat, because they're going to sit there knowing, wait up, Slade killed Oliver's mother, how can they be talking to each other and be in the same space even, but the episode that you're about to get in the UK is going to explain how that actually does start to happen just in that one episode.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Could you tell us about some
Sorry,
of
I think we'll have to stop it there.
Sorry, come on, she didn't ask.
Oh, go on, yes, that's okay.
Girl,
Got time.
one question.
Just me being me.
I was going to ask you about some of your favourite or standout moments for Slade during the filming of Arrow.
I've always said that my favourite scene was when I was sitting at the campfire with Oliver in season 1, and we're having a discussion about Billy Wintergreen, and it was like one of the only scenes ever that Oliver talked about his background. Sorry, that Slade talked about his background. He mentioned his son, and he said that he's from the Australian Special Forces. It was kind of like this background on him, just then it was, even though it was so brief, you kind of, you got a feeling about some disturbances in his life that weren't associated to Oliver Queen and the Arrow storyline, and then you got a strong sense of his code as a military man or as a man. He said that Billy Wintergreen, when they both landed on the island, Billy gave in to fires and took the bribe, and that he ended up on his own. He got tortured, and there's a whole bunch of things that happened to him, but he would stand his ground to hold his word. And that's backed up later when he says, I keep my promises. And he's a man of absolute conviction. If he says, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, he'll do it and he'll follow through with it. But that was before any idea of Deathstroke at that stage. But it was the window into that potential of his character. Saying if you screw with me, on certain moral codes like Billy Wintergreen did, it's going to bring the wrath of Deathstroke.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, guys.